I'd like to say hello and welcome to the showcase. My name is Shaun Martin, but I'm sure you already know that, and I've got 45 years experience in the field of entertainment. I'm here to share with you some of the greatest talents and experience in Clubland. We do this and we learn from each other. I ask you, please subscribe to my channel. It's very important that you don't miss an episode, and it also helps me to produce more great content like this. Now, this is episode 35, and I've got a great guy on here that was recommended by my good friend Terry Bell. Terry Gets Everywhere. I'd like to say hello to Anthony.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Anthony, it's a great pleasure, and what I've heard of you, what a voice. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you very much. Good
yeah.
start.
You look so young.
Thank you. You flatter me. I mean, I'm 32, so I'm not sure if I look 32 or not.
Well, your voice sounds 18.
Yeah, maybe even a bit lower. Yeah.
So let's start with the usual, Anthony. What age did you find out that you could sing and get into the business?
Yeah, so I think I started singing. I mean, I would always consider myself, in comparison to my other performer friends, as a bit of a late bloomer. I think I probably started singing or interested in singing maybe when I was about 14, 15. I was at school. I went to a school called Sir Henry Floyd Grammar School in Aylesbury. Started singing, started joining the theatre companies at school. So I'd probably say I took it seriously maybe from 15 onwards. And then I probably started singing professionally when I was about 18.
Wow. So how did you know what was that feeling that you really wanted to do it? How did you know by the time you was 18 that you wanted to become a
Yeah, good question. I
yeah.
think I'm not sure if other performers feel the same, but I loved the idea of standing on stage with a spotlight on me, especially being about 18, and I had a whole packed out audience just staring at me, being obviously able to sing how I do, and then just getting that round of applause at the end of a solo, and then just being like, this is definitely what I could do for the rest of my life, for sure.
Did you have any plans to go into what our mum would say, a proper job?
Did, yes. So I think I wanted to be. So my mum's a car accountant. My stepdad, he's a carpenter. And then my older sister, she's like a double doctorate. So we always say that she got the brains, I got the voice. So that's how we and together we make a good team. But I don't know, realistically, I always wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then I realized that my sister had the brains and I didn't have that. So I thought, let's give singing a go. And luckily for me, obviously with my, I get told that I have quite a unique voice.
Yes.
So it's kept me employed. So I can't
Wow.
complain. Yeah.
Let's talk about your unique voice, because I think probably there's a handful of singers that can sing like you. It's unique that you replicate the Barry Gibb. Would you say that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I started, I went to Bath Spa University, graduated in 2013, fell in love with a girl, and ended up kind of taking performing arts as a bit of a background for a couple of years. And then I was working at an insurance company, and I then just realized, it just hit me one day that I was like, I really want to be singing still. So I asked her, I was just like, you need to trust me. I'm going to come to London. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And bless her, she stayed. It was a very big decision for myself. And, I'm sure people get that sort of peak and troughs where I was like, is this worth it? Am I actually going to be good enough in order to be employed? And luckily, it was one of the best decisions of my life. And I moved to London, and then graduated with my new agency. And then I started, one of my big jobs was I worked for a company called Farnkie's Guys, and they're like an award-winning company that focus on Farnkie Valley and the Four Seasons as like their main show, which coincidentally I met Terry on. Yes. And then so from that, so I remember being about 15, 16, and my parents showed me Farnkie Valley, and I was just like, that's it. I was like, oh, someone else can sing high. It was my first introduction to kind of male singers singing kind of with the falsetto and high vocals. And then that kind of bridged the gap into the Bee Gees. So for me, the Bee Gees and Barry Gibbs is top kind of disco where I've always wanted to sing, essentially.
Wow. So would you say you're a tribute act, or you're just...
Good question. I think when I was younger, I would probably say yes, I was a definite tribute to Farnkie Valley and the Bee Gees, Barry Gibb. The older that I've got, I think the more I've kind of been really comfortable in my voice and just realised that yes, I can sing those songs, but I don't want to be tied down to just those songs. So essentially, I mean, I've got my own solo show and I call it Taking It Higher. It's a tribute to all the iconic vocals of artists throughout the years who can sing high. So there's also Prince and stuff like that. So would I say that I'm a tribute act that does Farnkie Valley or does the Bee Gees? No. I just feel like with my voice, I can do it well. And I mean that humbly. So hopefully. Yeah.
But you do Purple Rain.
I do Purple Rain. Yes, that's definitely, it's a winner. It's a winner for all audiences for sure.
Oh my, not many people can sing that, and it's just an awesome song.
It's fantastic, especially with the guitar solo as well. It's
What do you do when that comes on?
Good question. I'm either pointing at the guitarist or I take a little walk around the band and kind of give them a little clap, or essentially just sit in the audience and watch magic happen.
Yeah, it is awesome. Do you have any limitations with having the voice that you've got in terms of like that Farnkie Valley, really high-pitched voice? Does it give you any limitations to what you can't do?
Absolutely. I think vocally, there's a certain point where, I'd probably say on a good, I trained in sort of kind of traditional tenor songs, so kind of like musical theatre and stuff like that. I can do that. I just find it's more, I'm more comfortable and I feel like I'm a lot more free hitting that sort of kind of top range. One of the limitations that I did find, and this was a big thing for me when I was getting into the industry, was the feedback was always, you have a lovely voice, mate, granted. But in terms of our production shows, in terms of our shows, and I've been told this so many times, we need someone that sounds like a man. And I was just like, cool. And they were like, but don't get us wrong, you sound great, but we just need, we've already got 2 women. We don't need another man and a person that sounds like a woman, that type of thing. So that was really difficult for me, especially being a young performer. And I was just like, I thought I was going to maybe be more accepted quicker. And now that I'm 32, I'd probably say I started honing my voice in when I was about 26. So it took a lot of no's, took a lot of knockbacks, which is essentially why I created my own solo show, because then I have full control of all the songs that I want to do the arrangements differently if I want to and stuff like that. So yeah, it took a lot of work.
Do you have any problem? I mean, because you reach such high notes, do you have any problems with your throat or anything like that?
Touch wood. No. That is a question that I do get asked by a lot of audiences that I finish and they go, does that not hurt your voice?
Yeah.
For me, luckily, no. I'm quite strict with my routines. I limit myself on drinking. I'm not a smoker. I will spend days on vocal rest if I can. I will try to potentially not speak for about 2 days, just to kind of let it relax and stuff like that. Because I feel like my speaking voice is lower than my singing voice, so it's very difficult to do like a 2-hour show. And then when I have to then interact with audiences, I kind of have to essentially put on like a bit of a Michael Jackson lighter voice, just so it's not kind of obviously hurting my voice a little bit.
No offense, but when I watched your movies and heard you singing, I thought, bloody hell, that's so high. And then when you come on here, well, you don't match the person.
Yeah, I do get that a lot, and a lot of people, especially touring for the last 2-3 years overseas and kind of around the UK and Europe, I get a lot of people ask me if I changed the mic. And at first it was really complimentary and I was like, I'll take that as a compliment. And then after a while, I'm just like, no, I don't change the mic. So I do a little thing with the audience to get them to sing or try to sing as high as I can and be like, see, the mic isn't changed, guys. So I do feel like it's a bit of a shock factor, might be a bit too strong of a word, but yeah, I think it interests people for sure.
Is there still a need for that kind of singing? Or, does people still go mad over the Farnkie Valley and the Four
Yeah,
Seasons?
again, good question. I feel like, especially when Jersey Boys came out, there was a big influx. Like I was working with a lot of production companies that did kind of Frankie Valley, and then their second shows were more Motowny and stuff like that. And I feel like maybe all artists kind of go through this, but I kind of transitioned. So again, when I was younger, I did lots of Frankie Valley. Then I went into kind of like the Bee Gees, and then I started doing a bit more modern stuff. So I do a lot of Prince and stuff, and I do feel like there is a bit of a need. I feel like with social media and audiences being a lot more honest nowadays, I find anyway. It's a lot. I differ the crowd. I think a lot of people hopefully go, "Wow, that's such an interesting voice." Whether they like it or not, they can potentially appreciate kind of what I'm trying to do. Or you get the other half that are just like, "You don't sound how I kind of essentially need you to sound. You sound weird." I always get told I sound weird. Interesting is always up there. I had one audience member ask me for a photo, and she didn't know my name, but she called me Squirrel Boy, and I was just like, "All right, I guess I'll still post the photo." So, they keep me humble for sure. Yeah, they keep me grounded.
Audience is always honest sometimes,
Oh,
sometimes too
yes,
honest.
yeah.
Yeah. Where's most of your work these days?
Yeah, so I think obviously, the dreaded COVID took a huge, huge knock. Prior to that, I was doing a lot of UK tours in like theatres and various venues. COVID was obviously, I did a lot of social media, so I kind of got a bit of a nice following from that, which was great. And then obviously after that, I did a lot of overseas. So I was kind of doing loads of like guest stamp work on like overseas, like cruises and stuff like that, which then bled into sort of kind of going international. I've done a couple of gigs in America from audience members that saw me on the ships and stuff. I actually met my girlfriend on a contract. She's coming down next week. I'm very excited. And she's a singer dancer. So we're actually planning on moving to Australia in a couple of years. Yeah, we kind of want to get our own guest tent stuff going, which is pretty cool. But yeah, mainly overseas. But I think for the beginning of 2025, I'm going to kind of stay rooted in the UK and try and do a kind of essentially a UK tour of my solo show. That's the dream.
I usually ask private questions, but is your girlfriend Australian?
She is Australian. Yeah, we met coincidentally on an Australia contract. She was finishing, I was starting. I visited her family, and then she's coming down for about 2.5 months. It's a lot. I think for I'm sure she'll love this. I love her dearly, and we're making it work as best as we can. But she's currently doing a European tour, so the time differences are similar. But I think after she leaves in about April, and then we've got about 5-6 months where she'll be in Australia and I'll be in the UK, and obviously the time difference is pretty much like opposite ends.
Well, I'm in Thailand, so I'm 7 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
What's your girlfriend's name?
Her name is Claudia Pereira. She's a singer dancer. Yes. Hello,
Hello,
Claudia.
Claudia. That's great. So your kind of like future is dependent on your girlfriend, whether you go live in Australia or whether you stay here. So that's kind of like a big challenge for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Are you managed? Do you have a manager or do you get all your own work?
No, I do. So I'm represented by UK talent agencies. I just got with them at the beginning of 2025. And they've been really great because where they focus on like a plethora of artists, so like TV, films, theatre, so on and so forth. And I feel like looking at sort of like the artists that they have on their books, think I'm probably one of the only ones that kind of would like to think they have like an established solo show. And one of the reasons why I went with them is because they can open new doors for me, but they were just like, you can still carry on with your solo show. And, we do kind of appreciate that you had that prior to coming with us. Because that's a big thing. I've spent a lot of years trying to hone in my solo show. And now that I've kind of got that, it's sort of like my baby. So I just kind of want to make sure I look after that and make sure I kind of continue doing that.
So with your solo show, do you go out with backing tracks or band?
Both. So I initially started with backing tracks, and then throughout all the gigs and stuff, I've saved up and I've managed to get kind of at the musical stores for a 5-7 piece band, which is great. Very nerve-wracking when I first did it with them, because with a backing track you can kind of count it out and do that. And you know, some people sometimes like start ripping a guitar solo, and I'm just like, I don't know when you're going to finish. So, and then like the old owl eyes come out, but it's great. I love doing it with the band. Obviously, it's so much better than backing tracks.
Yeah, you've got that show feel. It's much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Whereas I've been a solo act for many years, but stood in the corner in a pub with backing tracks on a sticky carpet, sometimes can be a bit,
Yeah.
I don't know the word for it.
Yeah, especially when like, you know, the first couple of songs, everyone's like, oh, that's really cool. And then,
Yeah,
you know, an hour in there, they've
Yeah.
had a few pints and stuff like that. And then you become background music. So, but you know, it's all good. I love it.
sometimes think in a pub, you know, when they book an act, if the act stands there and just sings, I don't know why they need just a singer, because they might as well just have the jukebox on.
Yeah, exactly. That a cheeky iPod or
Yeah, you've got to have something different, like yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to have something of a difference, you know. You've got to be an entertainer. Got to be able to interact with the audience.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
I do, yeah. I when I first started, I was very nervous. I was quite a shy front man, if you will. I was in a few bands kind of coming out of uni. And I just remember I was really happy standing at the front, singing what I needed to sing, and let the guitarist sort of do the chatting. And then when I got Frankie's guys, I remember this was a real pinnacle moment for me. We had to do meet and greets after the show, and I was with 3 other performers, and they were chatting with the audience. They were like joking around. They were being kind of like quite flirtatious in a really professional manner, obviously. And I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, and this woman was trying to talk to me, asking me questions, and I was only able to offer like 1-word answers. And then I think the last question, it kind of got a bit kind of like silent, and then she turned around, she was like, did you like this then? And I was just like, yeah. And even in my head, I was like, that's all you had to say was just yes. And it was a real pinnacle moment for me. I was right, I need to start engaging a lot more, asking questions again, kind of having that sort of cheeky, chappy, kind of frontman sort of persona. And then after a few years, and now I love it. Obviously, meet and greets and being able to kind of bring people up on stage or interact with them, like before and after songs, is beautiful.
What you said there is pretty perfect, because this channel is all about learning from each other. You know, there are probably lots of up and coming acts that want to know how to do it. And people think you can just get a PA and just go into a club and off you go. No. It's not that. Like you said, you have to hone it in. You have to develop yourself.
Definitely.
You know, you have to find yourself. You have to.
Absolutely.
There's no chance you can be shy.
Yeah.
You know, people just think, well, just don't match the person. So
yeah, definitely.
People want personality, and I think in the entertainment business you have to do that. You know,
Definitely.
sometimes putting on that smile all the time can be a bit too much, but you know, you have to do it on cruise ships and where people see you all the time. That's what it's all about.
Definitely.
Has there ever been an instance where you've got a sad story to tell or something negative?
Oh, negative. Good question. Yeah, I feel like sometimes, personally for me, I feel like my natural negative is obviously, you know, I've been so incredibly lucky being able to tour the world. I mean, in the last 2-3 years, I've been able to see pretty much the entirety of the world in all of its glory, apart from a couple of places. And being able to say that is, you know, I'm so incredibly lucky. However, on the flip side, I've missed a couple of my best friends' babies being born. I've missed weddings. I've missed birthdays. Relationship a couple of years ago that kind of ended due to me being constantly away, and obviously what our ideas of us performing. She was also a performer, but she was very much kind of sticking within the UK, and I was very much like, I want to go see the world, I want to try and do this, and so on and so forth. So for me, that's the biggest negative. But I think at this current time and point of my life, when the positives outweigh the negatives, I know that's where I kind of want to be. If it then starts changing, then, you know, I'll have to start thinking about future plans. But
yeah, thanks. That's honesty on a scale, because I can imagine there are so many hearts broken in this business.
Definitely.
There are so many weddings that I've missed too. You know, people are going out on a Saturday night and enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
you're going out and getting paid for it and enjoying yourself. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like yes and no. You sometimes want to sit back and think, well, yeah, I'd like to be sat at a wedding enjoying it, drinking champagne, but then
Absolutely.
you're missing out on 200 or 300 notes, you know. So,
Like,
you know,
yeah,
I know where I'd rather be.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So our chat's coming to the end, Anthony, because I like to keep the podcast relatively sweet
Sure.
and short, about 20, 25 minutes. You've been awesome.
Thank you so much.
When you send me your video, it will be at the beginning of the podcast. One last word, well, not a word, a sentence. For any budding musician coming into this business or singer, what piece of advice would you give them?
Oh, good question. I think to sum it up in one word for me, Pat, is just perseverance. Persevere. So yes, as long as you keep pushing through, and it sounds cheesy, but it is oh so true. If you sincerely believe in the product that you can give, you know, if people need to believe you. So if you persevere and believe in yourself, you really should, and hopefully kind of open doors for yourself.
Excellent. That's good, true words.
Yes.
So, Anthony Malunda Carter, is that correct?
Marolanda Carter. Close, yeah.
Marolanda Carter, right, okay. Where does that name come from?
I'm half Colombian, so yeah, that's my Colombian side. Yes.
Nice.
Little
Okay.
spice.
So on behalf of Anthony, on behalf of myself, for the viewers that watch these shows, I very much appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed Anthony's chat, which he goes through a lot of the industry basics and beyond that. Most of all, we do this to share our experience, promote ourselves, and hopefully somebody will see Anthony and want to book him. Details will be on this podcast. Again, please subscribe, tell your friends to like it on YouTube, and let's keep this going because it's great.